What is up, guys? You got NotTheWorst here, bringing another Black Desert online video, and today we're taking a look at another silver breakdown video. This time we are visiting one of the new Calpheon Elvia zones. It's Hexe Sanctuary. If you want to just check out the actual money that I made for it and the actual silver breakdown itself, you can use the timestamp to just jump on ahead. If you want to get kind of an overview of the place, grinding their gear, and that sort of stuff, then stay listening along without using the timestamps. First up, where is it located? It's south of Calpheon. You might not be familiar with it if you're newer to BDO, since it wasn't relevant for a long time, but used to be way back in the day. So you can see Calpheon there, and it's pretty much directly south. You can head to this little NPC here, Becker. She does have 3 daily quests. I may have done them already today. But she does have 3 repeatable daily quests that are Elvia specific dailies for you, so they'll award you some of these Powder of Nightmares that can be swapped out for Corrupted Breasts or Scorching Sun Shards if you're looking to pick those up extra. You might as well pick up the quest because you're going to kill the mobs here anyways, so that's essentially that. Let's take a look at the drops here. We have this new upgraded UI they've introduced, which is very, very nice. Recently, very good quality of life improvement for what can actually drop at each zone, and kind of tells you a little bit about it in hashtags. It has the private realm available to you. You can do an hour a day on that if you want to. It's an Elvia zone, so powerful monsters, and there's lots of them. Pretty descriptive. It does point out the quests. You can see the dailies that I mentioned here are on there as well, and then a couple of weeklies that are available too from Brolina. The actual drops here where you're generating your money is mostly going to be these items here, these Crystallized Despair and Scorching Sun Shards. Now, these are still selling at price cap. These Crystallized Despairs are at 60 mil a pop, which is why this place tends to generate a ton of money. That may not stay true. What these do is it creates, you need 200 of these to create a Blessed Soul Fragment, which then is an upgrade piece. Actually, does it not list the Blessed Soul Fragment in this chart? Interesting. Oh, there it is. Blessed Soul Fragment is created with 200 of those so that you can create an upgrade piece to your Alchemy Stone, most people using Vel's Heart to it. So it'll actually give you 2 sheet DP, 1% monster damage reduction rate, and 2% to all resistances as well. So a bit of an upgrade. So they're extremely popular now. That may not hold true over time, or they may dip some amount in price over time as more people get that stone on there. The other items, the Scorching Sun Shard, these are currently selling right now around 16, 17 mil, but these are coming down every day. These are used to enhance your God Eye weapons. So as people have already gotten them to where they want to, these are going to lose popularity, and people just deciding they're not going to enhance it anymore, or what have you, or actually hitting pen finally or something is going to bring these down a bit in drive as well. However, for now, you make a killing off of these items in general. The Blessed Soul Fragment itself can drop in this zone. I have seen it drop. I've only seen people drop it off of some of the boss spawns, which I'll get into the mechanics of the boss spawns later. So I can't confirm whether it drops off every mob. People say that it does. I haven't actually seen it or know anyone that I trust that has had it drop itself, but it does sell max price at 12 billion silver, so dropping one of these is very, very, very good. The other items are pretty straightforward. We have Blackstones, we've got our BMCs, Massive Pure Magic, Traces of Death, and then we have 2 different types of trash loot here. This is the standard trash loot worth 26,190. This is what you're going to get off pretty much every mob there. And then when we talk about these boss spawn mechanics, the bosses actually drop a different type of trash loot worth 25,207. Because these bosses are in all of Elvia, not just specific to Hexe Sanctuary, there is a portal rift type mechanic where they spawn and they can show up anywhere. That's why they have their own trash loot along with it. The only other 2 items that are dropping here is this Corrupted Breath. This can be used with Alchemy on a Frenzy draft for it, and it increases the Frenzy draft stats to make it a little more appealing, get you a little extra damage out of it. And then the Ancient Spirit Light, we'll talk about a bit as well. That's an item that can drop anywhere in Elvia as well. It works for the rifts that the bosses spawn out of, and basically gives you a buff similar to the Serendia Elvia buff, although it has a little bit different interaction. So, as far as gear requirement, you can see it's recommending 300 AP and 390 DP is typically is what the game recommendation for it is. That's pretty true. You can definitely do it under that, especially the DP can be lower. 371 would probably be the absolute bare minimum I would bother. The thing is, if you do it lower, you're likely going to be sacrificing some of your actual output. Like, it may not be that efficient for you to actually grind here, and you can probably make more money better if you're lower, both in AP and DP. So those recommendations are pretty on as far as grinding here and expecting to be efficient with it. Not that you can't grind here at all if it's less than that. Just don't expect to make anywhere near the same same money that I was doing, since that is not even close to what I was grinding with. So my setup running this 310 succession. So we're in the 309 bracket at 310 AP, 403 DP. That's with 2 pen black stars and then a Tet offhand, because I've now failed this thing 33 times going pen. So we're still working on that. I was using artifact setup. It's actually a 2 magic accuracies, and then just running Rage, Lungs, Marked, and Shadows, which is a 6% back attack damage bonus alongside the AP accuracy and stamina with it. This is just kind of nice in case I encounter some open world. It's like kind of good or whatever. And then just recently, I actually was able to get a Frenzy damage. I had an extra magic AP artifact. I need to get another magical accuracy one, but towards the end of the few hours that I ran, I actually swapped over to this. This gives, instead of that 6% back attack damage, 2.5% total all special attack damage. They seem to feel about the same. Maybe this one's slightly more damage, or it could be because it's in a magic AP artifact as opposed to the magical accuracy. Speaking of accuracy, this place is actually pretty up there as far as your requirements. I can't give you just a raw number because each class has a different interaction for accuracy, so you can't just go and say, well, what was your accuracy? I set mine up specifically so that I would have 100% hit rate on all of my PvE, my relevant PvE skills. The lowest one for a DK is going to be 5% on Twilight Dash and Lunacy Vidir, so scaling to a 5% accuracy modifier on it along with your add-ons, and then your sheet stats calced with that. You can use Garmoth.com's PvE hit rate calculator. If you're not familiar with it, punch that in to kind of factor that out, but I can't just tell you, oh, you need 887 accuracy, on this set, and then you can go all damage elsewise for hit rate. That's not going to be necessarily true for your class. You're going to have different buffs, pre-buff skills on some classes, how your add-ons work, and that sort of thing. So you kind of have to calculate yourself. I will tell you that it is roughly around Bloody Monastery. It's slightly more forgiving than Bloody Monastery. So if you have 100% hit rate at Bloody Monastery, you will here as well. That's probably the best way to go about it as far as what you're set up with. Buffs that I use, I actually did this fairly lazily. I just ran a Frenzy, and then I did run the Tent buff for 50% bonus as well along with it. So yeah, my total loot drop was Yellow Scroll 220% bonus loot. Now that you can straight up see what you have at current amount with it. It's pretty nice when you hover over the item collection scroll. I didn't even run, I have them on now, but I wasn't even running church buffs or anything like that. I pretty much just plowed through this to get the hours in. And the biggest thing is I wanted to record this data prior to the drop rate event that's now on, because obviously that would skew my numbers. So ended up being 15 hours instead of the normal 20 because I had 15 hours done the day before that event went live, and I don't want the hours that have the drop event added to it to kind of skew the data for you. I'm going to go ahead and show you rotations, then I'll kind of explain how actually grinding here works and pull up some clips that I have for each of those set up. The rotations are very simple. If you've grinded at Gyphonracia Underground at all, this is kind of similar to that in the sense that you'll find your statue, or in this case it's a rift portal, and you're pretty much going to just grind around here. Something to note is you can see there's one elite here and then one elite here on it. There's only 2 on that specific rift portal. There's another rift portal up here, and there's only 2 on there. There's going to be 2 up here as well. What you're going to be looking for is you want the ones with 3 elites, depending on your clear speed. If you're a bit slower, you may be able to get away with 2, or in some cases you can get any of the rotations that have 2 elites on a rift portal, and then maybe jump between the 2 when you get a weapon from the boss spawns, which we'll talk about when we get there. But ideally you want to hit one with 3 elites, like this one here. There's one up around the corner that has 3 elites as well, and then there's a couple over here. You'll see in the clips that I was mostly at one that was over this way. So yeah, 3 elites on this one, and then 3 elites on the one that comes up over here. Oh, I'm on Arsha, didn't even realize that. Okay. Anyway, so find one that has 3 elites on it and you'll be set. Run with that. If you have to stick with 2, I mean, you can. This is the last one up this hill that'll have 3 on it, on that rift portal. You can see somebody grinding on there. So find one with 3 and you're good. If you're slower and you're just kind of learning it, find one with 2 and you can run with that. And I guess if you need to, you can jump between the 2. I did do that a few times from time to time, but didn't necessarily stick to it that way. So that's how the rotations work. You don't have to like bounce around. You're literally just going to float around that specific rift portal, and that's about it. So let me go ahead and show you some grinding and explain how the actual monster mechanics work for this place. All right, so once you've found your 3, or if you're going with a 2 elite rotation around your rift portal that you want to get set up, you're pretty much going to just go in for the elite, and you're going to attack that and go ahead and kill that. And when you kill that, you'll have other monsters. You can see they kind of not teleport, but they dig underground, I suppose, is the animation that you're looking at, the red stuff that as they move and float under you. So as you're killing that elite, depending on which rotation you're on, it's pretty likely that you're going to have 2 or 3 waves of monsters, if you will, that kind of aggro as you're clearing the mobs on there. Personally, I'll just do the elite and then another 1 or 2 packs of mobs that are in that zone, and then I jump over to the next elite. The reason for that is the elites have a slightly higher chance to drop Scorching Sun Shards and Crystallized Despair, which are the money makers here. So keeping those killed as quickly as possible is definitely advantageous to you. You're only going to really need the 3, and at lower APs, maybe you only need 2 in order to always have an elite up. And we want to stick around the same Rift Portal too, which is why we're not jumping to different ones. Plus, trying to maintain that if someone else comes in is going to be very difficult holding down 2 at the same time. So you'll do a few waves for it and kill them. When you see these Soul Harvester guys that are kind of loitering around here, and you can't attack them initially. What they're doing is every time you kill a mob, they have these little red orbs or souls, and they kind of collect those. And once they've, quote, collected enough of them, they will then become an elite monster themselves that you can now attack. They're slightly tankier than the regular elite guys. They actually hit a little less hard than the regular elite guys do as well. And then once you kill one, it's going to then spawn a purple orb, which now spawns its own sets of waves of monsters, and it is a set amount. Each wave will spawn once you kill the previous elite to it. It introduces some of these soldier dudes, skeleton warrior dudes that will blow up, and you can see they set an AoE. They blow up and damage the mobs around them and you, and it does deal a lot of damage. At my gear set, if I have full health, it takes me down to about 25% health. So you can imagine if you're at lower DP, it probably one-shots you, or gets pretty close to it, or maybe a back attack one-shots you, something like that. So probably just don't stand in giant red circles, just as a rule of thumb in BDO in general. And then aside from that, it's going to spawn some of the other elites you're already familiar with, and when you kill these elites, they also explode and it damages the mobs around you, but not you. So those are pretty nice to cluster up a lot of the miscellaneous mobs that will continue spawning during that purple orb period. So it's a nice little bonus to have the chance of getting more crystallized despairs, scorching sun shards, and that sort of thing with the extra elite spawns. I typically will just go ahead and focus in on the harvester only if I haven't cleared that specific elite spot first. What I mean by that is, let's say I killed the elite and then I kill the next 2 waves of monsters or the 2 other packs that will aggro while I'm attacking the elite there, and the soul harvester decides to spawn right at the end. The time that I'm spending killing him, I'm not killing other mobs since I cleared that area already, so I just go over to the next elite, leave the soul harvester alone for now, and when I come back around after killing the other 2 elites and that one's respawned, then I'll kill the soul harvester along with an elite, and more importantly, he'll have a bunch of trash mobs around him as well. So I'm not spending time only attacking a soul harvester, I'm getting more trash loot over time while I kill him. Not that they take forever to kill, but they're a little tankier than the other things, so you kind of get used to that. The next type of spawn that you will see is Hexe Marie, and she is an absolute nuisance. And the reason I say that is when she is spawning, you're going to see a lot of these Blessed Soul guys that spawn. However, these ones are not really elite in the sense that the trash loot you get from them is the same as any other mob. So killing them isn't like necessarily a benefit. It's kind of nice they all cluster up and you can kill them pretty quickly. And then she finally spawns. The problem is her trash drop. Her loot drops rather are just abysmal. She has a little bit more trash loot, just like an elite does. She's tankier than everything else, so she takes a while to kill. She also teleports all over the place. If you're familiar with a Sork iframe, it looks exactly like that because most of her skills are Sork type skills. So she'll teleport around, which can be annoying, just kind of chasing her down. She has some very large AoEs that do a large amount of damage as well. They're very easy to avoid, but she takes a while to kill, a minute or 2. Depending on your gear and class and whatnot. And the problem with killing her is you don't really get anything for it. A little extra trash loot, you're going to get those corrupted breaths to make the upgraded frenzy drafts and BMC, and that's it. I have killed so many Hexe Marie at this point because I've done tons and tons of hours, even outside of the 15 hours we put into the spreadsheet for the data on this, especially since the drop rate event's out because I'm making a killing here. And I've never gotten anything other than those to drop. I will say yesterday I did get a crystallized despair. However, I can't be 100% certain it dropped off of her and not off one of the other mobs. As far as I can tell, she can probably drop it just like any mob can, but she has the same chance of dropping one as a regular mob. It's not increased like the elites that you're normally used to are, and also you'll probably only kill 1 or 2 Hexe Maries per hour anyways. So yeah, they kind of take up time, and honestly, they seem to slow down your trash per hour overall. And since the loot's not amazing, it's honestly just a straight nuisance. So boss spawn mechanics, if you've grinded anywhere else in Kelphion Elvia, you may already be familiar with this. This is a rare spawn trigger, so having an increased item drop rate for this will actually increase the chances that this event occurs. Same with most rare spawns on that type of thing. So what happens here is the event will trigger, and you will get one of 3 bosses. It will be either a Cyclops, an Ogre. Those both spawn pretty much instantly when you see the portal, everything turn red around you, that area. Or you'll get the Giga Chad. Giga Chad does not spawn instantly. He likes to wait. He calls up a bunch of his nightmare buddies. You kill some of them, and while you kill him, then eventually Giga Chad will spawn, and then he, at that point, has appeared. They're not anything incredibly amazing as far as like stuff you have to look out for. It's the same kind of thing. Don't stand in front of them because they'll step on you, and it does a ton of damage. They all have some large AoE skills. Just don't stand in the giant red circles. You'll be fine. You'll kill them. They do take quite a while, even at a 309 triple Black Star type setup. It's going to take a bit of time to go ahead and clear them, so you're going to kill lots of other extra mobs and get some extra trash hopefully while you're doing that. Once you've killed them, they have a guaranteed drop on virtually one of each thing other than the 12 billion silver item. So you're going to get one crystallized despair for sure. You're going to get a scorching sun fragment for sure. You get corrupted breaths, you'll get BMCs, you'll get blackstones. They give you a little of everything, which is super nice. So any boss spawn, you know you're getting that 60 mil item and the 15-ish mil, 17-ish mil sun shard as well. They're also going to give you a buff and a debuff. So the buff itself works similar to the Serendia Elvia in that you will do mass amounts of damage now to the mobs around you. You will find, and I found this myself, at higher APs when you have that buff, you probably clear all 3 of your elites a little faster than you want to if no Soul Harvester spawns. Because you just deal so much damage. I do actually jump into other rotations if they're open when that happens. If not, I mean, I wait the 15 seconds or whatever. Maybe a Soul Harvester ends up spawning, so he'll take up my time anyhow, so everybody will be respawn. But just be aware of that at higher AP. That is a thing that happens. You will end up over clearing. So that buff is going to last for 5 minutes. So about twice as long as I lasted with your mom last night. But other than that, you're going to get this debuff that it first takes effect for 30 minutes. You'll have the 5-minute buff on during that. So you have 25 minutes remaining with this debuff. It doesn't lower anything as far as your stats, but what that debuff does is makes it so that you actually can't pick up that buff again. So that means if another boss spawns, and this will happen to you because it happens to me all the time, it's still nice because you have a guaranteed drop on a crystallized despair and scorching sun shard. So the boss is obviously worth a lot of money in that sense. But you won't get that buff put back on until you've gotten rid of that debuff. So it basically cycles it out, so you can only get one every 30 minutes, and you can't really leave it around other than like leaving the boss spawn up or something or ignoring it. Wouldn't recommend doing that unless you have like a minute or 2 left on your debuff. Like you probably just slow roll killing the boss then, so you can pick up the buff. But outside of that, just plow through it. You'll be fine. You just don't get the extra buff added in. Another type of buff effect that exists here that you will pick up, although it is drastically less common than the boss spawn mechanic is the Ancient Spirit Light. This is an item that will be in your inventory. When you pick it up, you'll see it, the loot trigger for it. It only lasts for 6 hours, so you do need to use it at some point within those 6 hours, or it will dissipate. It's going to turn the portal to a gold or yellow color and makes an aura around it, just like the boss spawn does, but it's that gold or yellow color as well. This is going to give you an attack buff very similar to the boss one, except for the buff lasts for 30 seconds. However, you'll see as long as you're in that circle, it will keep giving you that buff again and again. So it lasts for about 5 minutes as well, as far as I could time it. So you can pop that Ancient Spirit Light, pick up a bunch of extra trash loot while you're running that thing. Again, if you're going to overclear, you could actually still jump to another rotation for if you needed to and didn't get a Soul Harvester spawn on that round. You could do that. You just make sure you're paying attention to when the buff is on you, because it's a 30-second and then it'll deplete and you'll be outside of the aura where it actually gives you the buff. So it'll disappear for you after that. So. That is how the actual mechanics for the spot works. We've covered the gear, recommendations, buffs, and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and get into the spreadsheets and break down what we actually made while grinding this spot. All right, so we have our spreadsheet again. I did 15 hours with the intent of doing 20 hours for this. However, we got a 30% drop rate bonus that got put on before I got to do all 20 hours. So I cut it short at 15 so that the data wouldn't be skewed with an additional drop rate. So we kind of kept it even there. So just keep that in mind. If you're trying it out now, you do have an additional drop rate bonus. So you may be a little better off. My total amount of drop rate while doing this was 220, actually 219.5% for my item drop amount. And I did not do them on our show I did, but I didn't put them on this spreadsheet so that we kept it even, just that flat 220 with it. And this is running yellow loot scroll, no aggres involved on that either. So we can see I averaged 11.8 trash loot. Obviously my first hour was a little rough, kind of figuring things out. How it worked at 10 was the only one I ever did 10. I can tell you I pretty much do right at about 12K almost every single hour now that I've kind of perfected the way that I want to do it, talking about skipping around the soul harvesters if there aren't other mobs around. That's gotten me I pretty much on the nose hit 12,000 if I do a straight grind hour at this point. So this average was right about right with that low end. You can see there's this 13K that then sticks out. This is because I had 2 or 3 ancient spirit lights along with boss spawns during this hour. So I was able to use those, and obviously you annihilate mobs very quickly. So it increased my trash loot. So it was just one of those where I got really lucky with the actual drop amount. So the overall average from this ended up coming out to 1066. Keep in mind, this is with the tent buff. So if we remove the cost for the tent buff, we're talking in 1016. That's 1.016 billion silver. So it's very good. We're over 1 billion silver per hour on this zone. This does, of course, depend on your Scorching Sun Shards and your Crystallized Despairs being at a decent sell rate. We can see here I have them in at 17 mil and 60 mil a piece. These are still very easy to sell at 60 mil. They do sit up on the market from time to time. You'll see a cluster at 200 or 300, and some people undercut it by 500K or whatever once or twice. But if you don't even have to be patient. Just put them at max price and literally just look at it 10 minutes later. They'll all be sold at max price, and it's still fine. I do not expect that to stay that way forever, but it is for at least now. These being at 17 mil in the same boat, although they're coming down faster. These they actually price cap at 20 mil. So when I first was doing this, and when I finished these 15 hours, this was still worth 20 mil, but I brought it down since the price is now changed to try and keep it in line with NA pricing when this video goes up, at least. So looking at the averages for those, it was almost 10 per hour on Despair. You'll see mostly like 9, 10. I had some interesting ones where this is, I believe to date, I think I did a 20-something hour at one point, but that was on Arsha. So this is to date like the highest one non-Arsha for it, 18 in a single hour, and then the lowest end, a few 6s on here. That's a lot when you talk about that, because we're still talking on 6 of those at 60 mil, 360 mil before tax. That's a lot of money for it, and we're talking just this dropping like on its own. That's insane. Just outright. So that's why this place is generating like a ton of money between that and then a little extra bonus. These actually drop about half as often as the Despairs, and they're worth much less, but it's still a lot of money. This is where everything gets generated. Imagine just dropping 10 of these an hour at 600 mil before tax, right? That's essentially what the average is, assuming your clear speed is around that amount. Then with the trash loot, when you look at the boss trash plus the normal trash, since these have different values, this adds around 300 to 400 mil on top of it, just depending on how many ancient spirit lights you got. Although notably there was no boss trash, and actually I think something looted wrong on this one, because I did have a boss spawn that hour too, but that's neither here nor there. So that's going to give you all of your money for the most part. The Blackstones are plentiful for sure, and definitely factor into this a bit, but the real money drivers are these two guys alongside the trash loot. So out of that billion-ish per hour, a little over $1 billion per hour, the actual spread on this, which I think is a little more telling than just saying, I average 1 bill per hour. We can see my best hour being 1.6 billion. That, of course, was because I had 18 Crystallized Despair drop, which is just an absolute insanity. 1.6 bill before tax, that's insane money to make right now anywhere for it. And then the low end 723 I think was my worst here. That was, of course, 0 Scorching Sun Shards and 6 Despair. It's no surprise, no boss loot either for it, probably just straight up trash loot. And then look, my Blackstones, just a very bad RNG hour. Blackstones were not anywhere in line with where they normally are for that. So obviously that hour was just really rough. And to do 723, granted this is with yellow loot scroll, so keep that in mind. The blues are going to be lower trash amounts with it, but that's a really, really insane bottom end, right? This is very bad RNG for this spot in general to hit that, and to know that you're still pulling in the 700s or thereabouts when you have a bad spot makes this place just absolutely bonkers. This is hands down the best grind spot in the game right now. It generates the absolute most money. It does, from what I've seen on other stats, it does beat out trolls. for virtually every class. I believe Shies were making more money at Trolls initially than this, and their nerf came around, so they are no longer doing that. And Trolls does not keep up with this place at all. Nothing does. This is crazy money for now. It will not stay this way. The more that people finish getting their crystallized despairs, they've got their 200, they upgrade their Vel's Heart or their Splendid Stone or whatever they're using, and they're done with it. This is going to go away. Those things don't break. It's a permanent upgrade. So unless they change alchemy stones, they're not going to need another one. So the demand for these is going to go down. So there's going to be a price point that these sit at that makes this place no longer worth grinding. For now, we're not at that point. So go ahead and enjoy the drop rate buffs and go in there and just make an absolute boatload of money in the meantime, because a bill an hour is just absolutely insane. We kind of knew that at some point places like this were going to exist for sure, but to actually be truthfully averaging over 1 billion is just wild money. So my overall conclusion on this place, go grind it if you have the gear while you still can and benefit from it, because I do not expect it to stay this way. It's pretty likely Gyphon Underground will be king over time, since the despair crystals I do not expect to stay this way. So take advantage of it while you can. So that's going to be it for this video. If you did enjoy it, be sure to like it. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe so you get notifications when new videos do go live. If you'd like to catch me playing live, I put these on the stream. I bring these up on stream before the videos go live, so you get kind of a sneak peek of what Silver Breakdown I'm working on. You can also see me grinding these spots and doing these hours on stream if you want to check those out as well. So definitely drop a follow over there. And if you want to look at the spreadsheets directly, then you can click the link in the description below. I've got it that links to the spreadsheets of the Silver Breakdowns I've done, at least the most recent ones. For it. And then if you want to see, if you're trying to like track down my hours or my gear or anything like that, I do have a Garmoth thing set up as well, so you can check me out. It's just garmoth.com/ntw. So if you can /character/ntw. So you can go here, you can check out my gear, you can look at my grind stats and that sort of thing for different places I've grinded. I typically don't really use Garmoth, but I started plotting it in while I was doing these Silver Breakdowns. I prefer personally to just put in my own in my spreadsheet for it, but people want to ask, and then they like being able to view the amounts here. This obviously 933, this number one, the trash loot per hour is higher because I did more hours since then. And then this is after tax number, whereas the spreadsheet's before tax. So, but if you want to check this out on any of my other grind spots or anything like that, then you can head on over there. You can't really follow it, but you can just click on it and check it out. So that's going to be it for this one. Want to thank everybody for watching, and I will see you next time.